They don't just need a starting left tackle. They need backups too. Right now, today, April 1st, and this is not a joke, there's only one true left tackle on the Patriots roster, and that's Vidarian Lowe. That's it.
We were going to the offseason like they might need 4 tackles.
Right. It's not even like, all right, well, there's somebody for Vidarian Lowe to compete with. He's Will Smith looking around. Well, I guess there's the right tackles, but like he's looking around that room all alone. Now,
who's John Travolta? Like, anybody? Anybody?
Now, Caden Wallace has played left briefly last year, but he did. And that was what Mike Vrabel talked about, was they still think he's going to have a chance to compete on the left side. Elliott Wolf told Felger that they think he's primarily a right tackle, but they like his footwork and athleticism. They think he can play on the left side. That, understandably, I think kind of got some people nervous. But to me, like if they're telling me, all right, it's Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace competing for the left tackle spot, alarm bells. Like that's not nearly enough. But the way I interpreted it, maybe this is glass half full, is, well, we need bodies, right? We're going to need backups. Vidarian Lowe can't play on the right side. We saw that in 23. He just wasn't able to do it. He's solely a left tackle. If we can get Caden Wallace, just bring him along on the left side, and then he's our third tackle, so we don't have to carry 4, so we have to carry a backup right tackle opposite Vidarian Lowe. It makes their lives a little easier. So I kind of took that as Caden Wallace. The plan is for him to be the swing tackle, which let's see. I don't know whether or not he can do it, but I think he does have some of the tools where you're not counting on him to start 17 games fine. But I hope that's not going to turn into, well, we took Travis Hunter at the top of the draft and then we didn't like any of the tackles. So yeah, it's Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace on the left side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, can he be Cam Fleming? Like, could he just be something like that? You know,
Adrian
a serviceable
Waddle.
guy. Adrian Waddle. That was the other guy I was trying to think of. Yeah. A guy that could be serviceable on either side.
That'd be great.
Like, look, if that's the plan, if that's what he turns out to be, then they're probably in good shape, because that probably means they have a decent starting left tackle in there. But yeah, like the idea that they're going to try Caden Wallace as the left tackle, or they think he might have a chance to do that. That's like, we're basically running it back to last year, Barth. We're running it back to when they had Vidarian Lowe. They're going to try Caden Wallace.
It's just last year without Chooks.
Noah Okorafor.
Which was most of last year.
Basically the same thing. Yeah, we're still running it back. There's no Noah Okorafor now, Noah Okorafor later. Yeah, like it's you know how I've been.
Yeah.
Like left tackle has been the number one need for the team this whole offseason, in my opinion. And look, they might go through the draft. They might take Will Campbell at 4. It seems like they think he can play tackle. Elliott Wolf seems to believe that anyway. So maybe that's the ultimate solution there. Maybe they trade up into the late in the first round to get a left tackle. Like I think that was you in your mock draft. You had him taking Josh Connolly from Florida. Maybe they go for a tackle early in the second round. Like I would think they're still going to draft a tackle high. I don't think that they think the plan is going to be Caden Wallace and Vidarian Lowe competing for the left tackle spot. I feel like you're just asking for like this, basically the same problems that they had a year ago, which is unfathomable to me that they would do this at what's been their biggest need for forever. It feels like ever since Nate Solder walked out the door, they've been chasing this left tackle spot, and Isaiah Wynn obviously didn't work out. But like ever
Trent
since
Brown
then
was a roller coaster.
Yeah, Trent Brown gave him a good year.
Well,
at least
they got that one good year from Trent Brown, and then they chased that for like 5 years.
Yeah, they chased Trent Brown. They kept trying to make Trent Brown from 2018 happen, in 2022, 2023, whatever year it was when he finally played his last year here in New England. But like, just the fact that they keep chasing it and they're not, identifying a true, strong, solid solution at that spot, it has me terrified with the way this whole offseason is going, which I otherwise feel good about. Like they addressed the wide receiver spot with the addition of Stephon Diggs. Like that's a real move at receiver. They made it, I think, Morgan Moses, I'll give you as a real move at right tackle. And, Michael Winner's going to move back to right guard. I think that's a real move to say, like, you're back at this spot. You got Josh McDaniels back. So I think that's sort of one of the unheralded things going into the season, is that I'm expecting Michael Winner to have a big bounce back. Center, I guess we'll find out, but like center I see as sort of less important than left tackle or the tackle spots. The fact that we still have that it's still completely up in the air what they're going to do at left tackle, and there's a thought that they might just run it back with Vidarian Lowe and try Caden Wallace, like that is frightening.
Well, so now that we've gotten everybody all worked up talking about that maybe being a possibility, Vrabel was then asked, after he talked about Caden Wallace, the left tackles in the draft. And this is why I feel better, because he spoke very highly of both tackles at the top of the draft, Will Campbell from LSU and Armand Membou from Missouri. Now, he did talk about the questions that come with both of them. For Campbell, it's the arm length. For Membou, it's moving from the right side to the left side. Downplayed both. And this has become a really territorial kind of tribal thing with the draft people and the Patriots fans. What would you rather bet on? Campbell's arm length working or Membou being able to change sides? Both sides will point out there's very little historical context for either. Vrabel doesn't seem to care, at least based on what he said yesterday. It was, you put on the tape, these guys can play. He was a little more, now he was asked more specifically about Campbell, so he got a little more in depth there, talking about, you see him in the SEC against guys that are going to get drafted, but it does feel like, just based on what he said yesterday, either one of those guys, they would be comfortable drafting as their potential franchise left tackle.
Well, the thing with Will Campbell is that he's got 33-inch arms, right?
Yep.
The combine's wrong.
I'm standing by that. I'm standing by that.
So Shrine Bowl's wrong.
No, Shrine Bowl's right.
Shrine Bowl was 32 7/8, I thought.
No, so he didn't go to either of the bowls. It was Greg Bedard had a report. Oh,
what was the 32 7/8?
So Greg had that, and then the director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, had reported that he measured in at 32 7/8 last spring at a camp.
Okay, so that was my nice Senior Bowl connection there.
Okay, so
my bowl connection.
What I think happened there with Jim Nagy and with Greg was he was 32 7/8, and this sounds like a joke. It's not. 20 years old. He's a growing boy. Grew an eighth of an inch in a year at 20 years old.
Well, no, I'm not taking a shot at Bedard or anything.
No, I know
that was just a report then. That wasn't like an official.
It was a report. No, but this is just to strengthen the case about the combine being wrong. Would you believe that? So if Greg and Nagy are right, and the pro day measurement is an eighth of an inch longer than this measurement he took a year ago, it's very believable that, again, a 20-year-old kid,
a little spurt,
grew a little bit,
a little growth spurt.
So I think the report you're referencing, I think, is correct. It's a different number than we got at the Senior Bowl, but I think they're both true because there's a year, they're separated by a year.
All right, let's go down the rabbit hole, Barth. This whole thing that Felger and Maz have been hot on this. We got to hear about this every day being here at the Sports Hub. Is that it's been 25 years since there was an All-Pro Pro Bowl left tackle with the wingspan and arm length of Will Campbell.
It might be my fault that they're talking so much about.
But my question is, so who was that player, first of all, or did the person only go back 25 years?
I think it's the second one. I think that's where the data set is.
Go back 30 years. What if there's another guy? Like, what if Will Campbell is a generational tackle? Like, he's going to have the wingspan to be an All-Pro Pro Bowl caliber player. Like, is that impossible? Over an eighth of an inch?
Well, you're the one who at 32 7/8 was saying guard.
Oh, well, I had to stick to my guns on that one. That was just committing to the tape.
But now you're back on tackle.
The conversation's changing. Yeah. He's at 33. That's the threshold.
Right? Well, this is the thing. Our team's going to use the combine as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
There are probably teams that are going to look at that measurement and say it's 32 5/8. There are going to be teams that maybe second, and I think there are teams that do that. There's going to be some teams that will second guess, and any team that's really serious about drafting Will Campbell, odds are, is going to host him for a top 30 and get the tape measure out themselves and just get their own answer.
Yeah, I would do that. So no matter what team I am. But the other thing that changed, Barth, is that he had that awesome press conference at the the pro day where it's like these guys never coached. I like the cut of his jib, Barth.
He's best.
I go by my instincts a lot on these things.
Yeah.
My instincts is that Will Campbell's going to be a great player because
at what position?
Regardless.
Oh, okay.
What separates the greats from the very goods is that extra
mentality.
That mentality. Like the mentality, like, F you, I'm going to go out and I'm going to prove you all wrong. Like you're saying I'm not good because my arms are an eighth of an inch shorter than what you want. Like he'll prove me wrong after, like I was saying for months, like I don't want him because I think he's going to be a guard. What if he's Steve Hutchinson? If Steve Hutchinson was in this draft, would he not be a top 5 to 10 pick?
Well, he might be, but thereuld be people saying you can't take a guard that high.
So there's the voice. But this is like a different draft. Like, I tend to go year to year with these things.
As you should.
Of course, last year, 2021 draft was just loaded with offensive prospects. No, you're not taking a guard
right.
that high. But if this is a Hall of Fame left guard potentially, I don't know. I feel like you could potentially justify it, but I don't know. I think I'm going by the 33 inches. If the team feels that he can play tackle, they go by the tape where, yes, he played in the SEC. He played against guys that are going to be in the NFL. Like, look, maybe he's not going to be a Hall of Fame left tackle. Maybe he's not going to be an All-Pro or Pro Bowl based on whatever that data is because of the wingspan. I'm taking a good left tackle. I don't care where you're getting it. Get a good left tackle, for God's sake.
There's been a lot of people that when I bring up the arm length, and let me be clear on this, talking about something is not agreeing with it. The arm length is a big part of the conversation around him. You do need to discuss it. That does mean I agree it should be weighted as much as maybe some people do. But whenever I bring it up, there's a large contingent of people that will simply be like, who cares? Can he play?
Exactly. That's sort of my point. It's like people are going to forget about the fact that he was drafted 4th overall. If he turns into a good long-term, if he's a good left tackle long-term, who cares that he was drafted 4th overall? Like, he worked out.
And I think that's kind of what Vrabel said yesterday. Maybe not that last part, but like, can he play?
Yeah.
Right. Look at the tape. He can play. There you go. And we'll try him at tackle. You know, people compare it to other instances of guys moving inside, but he is, I think, right on that line. And if you look at the tape, he can play. How do you feel about the possibility? So, but let's say louder voices in the room went out. No, we're concerned about his arm length or whatever. Right. I don't really think there's a shot where he goes above them and they would be limited to just Armand Membou. Honestly, if that happens, you're probably taking Travis Hunter, who we will get to. But let's say the louder, there's people in the room worried about his build. Armand Membou, who doesn't have ideal tackle build either, by the way. He has the arm length, but he's 6'4". He's a little more stout, I guess would be the word. He's built more like a guard.
If you take the extra inches, I'd rather have it on the arms than the height.
Okay.
Personally.
Well, so, and that's not the main concern with Membou. It's he's moving from the right side to the left side, which in the NFL right now, there's really only one guy that's done that, been a primary right tackle in college, and then moved to the left side successfully in the last 10 years. That's Tristan Wirfs. Saw a couple players try that last year, struggle. The Titans just had to give Dan Moore the worst contract in free agency so they can move J.C. Latham back to the right side a year after taking him. Yeah. How do you feel about them? And now Caden Wallace is different. He's not the player Membou is. Chuks Okorafor is different. He just clearly didn't want to do it. So it's not exactly apples and apples, but they tried this last year. It didn't work. It's been tried around the league. It generally, not always, but generally does not work. How would you feel about them drafting Membou at 4 and trying to move him to the left side?
I wouldn't like that either, because I just think logically speaking, if you're good enough to play left tackle in the NFL, that's where you're going to play in college, right? Like maybe you go case by case. Like was the left tackle on Membou's team, like was that a guy that he couldn't beat out that guy to play left tackle?
It was in 23. It was a guy named Javon Foster Walker. He was they had a really good tackle who was like a year or two. Membou was originally recruited as a guard. Played guard in high school.
Then I don't want
to play
left tackle.
He won the right tackle job as a true freshman and never gave it up. So
I just feel like it's at the very least you're talking about a year of development, like just trying to figure out how to play that set. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, you just flip it. It's not that simple.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not. He does have the athletic profile where like I'd be more comfortable with them trying it with him than a guy like than with Wallace last year. Like Wallace was a right tackle. I thought that was at least a year one. Like I said, can he be a swing tackle eventually? Yes, maybe. But year one, he was a right tackle. Armand Membou has the athleticism and the experience where maybe he can carry over. I still think it's risky, but so like you got to pick which risk are you rather taking? Short arms or out of position? If you need a left, because it drops off. It drops off. Now you're going to the next tier where if you say neither, you're going to the next tier where it's Josh Simmons coming off a torn patella tendon, Josh Connerly and Ariante Ursary, who are kind of like higher floor, low ceiling guys who I think can start at left tackle year one, but I don't know that he was a franchise guy. And then it drops off to like just true project players.
Yeah.
And Kelvin Banks is there in the middle. Maybe if you trade down, he's kind of the wild card and all this, but like, which one is it? Would you rather short arms? Because you can't grow. Like he might keep growing, but you can't fix that. moving sides is a tough process, but it's not like something that you're physically inhibited from doing.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like I'd be okay if they went the Connolly, Ursery route. Maybe if they took a chance on Simmons or Banks, like if they trade down, and they take them later in the first round. It just, to me, it goes all the way back to the overall roster construction. Like I'd feel a lot better about a guy like Ursery or Connolly if they brought in a more reliable veteran guy to play left tackle in the meantime. Like Tyron Smith and DJ Humphries are still out there. I'm not saying those guys are, long-term answers by any means. Like maybe they only have to play half a season until your left tackle is ready to step in there. And I don't think they absolutely have to take Campbell or Membou with that 4th pick, but I do think it's got to be one of these guys early on. And like, I think once they take those guys, then we can look at the overall roster construction and how did they do? Like it goes back to the Vederian Lowe thing, Barth. Like I just can't believe we're going back to this, because it's like, it's almost like, how do you look the fans in the face and say, we're going to give this guy, is it a 3rd year? Yeah, we're going to give this guy a 3rd year.
And Elliot Wolf talked about at the combine, like learning from the mistakes they made last year.
It's nothing personal against Vederian Lowe. Like he's a good guy and all that. And like, I feel like he's trying. I just don't think he's good enough. But like, we're going to give this a 3rd try. Like, okay, see how it goes. But like, if they're going to do that, they better draft one of these tackles early. Like if it's not Campbell, it better be a guy like Ursery or Connolly, and like you could develop him and then move him in maybe halfway through the year if Vederian Lowe proves finally once and for all that he can't really stick there left tackle long term. Then you have your Commanders plan, where like, not that Brandon Coleman stepped in and he was an all-pro, but they drafted him. They took a year or half the season basically with Cornelius Lucas at left tackle, and then finally they put Coleman in there after they developed him for a little bit. So like, I wouldn't be against that plan. It's just risky that they're looking to Vederian Lowe to be that the Vederian Lowe to be the veteran stopgap there.